Hello, beautiful souls, and welcome back to Cosmic Compass. This is a channel where we decode the mysteries of consciousness and bring them back to the fabric of daily life. And today, it's a little cooler outside, I wanted to share a truth that's been alive in me recently, and wanted to share it with all of you. So, your desire to experience peace must become more dominant than your ego's addiction to chaos. So let's sit with that for a moment, right? Peace is our natural home, where chaos is a habit. Just give that some food for thought. And for much of my life, I thought that chaos meant that I was alive. And growing up in a home where various mental health and addictions and issues were present in my family, it was and can still be very chaotic. And so that has been pretty much a hallmark of my daily life experience for a big portion of my life. And I've learned with grace like how to navigate those roles and dynamics, and how to live with an open heart and an open mind amidst it all. It hasn't been easy because I have learned to internalize the drama and the gossiping about neighbors when police were called many times a day, and the endless like what's next cycle of proving and fixing. And it gave me a sense of identity because it was normalized. It was my daily reality. And when things felt calm, I really felt uneasy, like I was really waiting for the next shoe to drop. And so having experienced most of my life, like really it's most of my life that's been in that energy, it had been a dominant energy and a dominant vibration that I carried. And even if it wasn't mine to carry, but it took a lot of unlearning and rewriting of things that I held on to and assumptions about myself and others, and had to come to terms with being so uncomfortable in that chaos where it had to override, my baseline and have a complete nervous system reset, right? Because my ego was really feeding on chaos like an addiction. And I wish that was, more spoken about, but I do think there is a caveat here too. And there are a lot of people who might not have gone through what you have gone through, right? But there are a lot of people that have. But the people that haven't might want to prescribe and pathologize and diagnose all of the reasons for why the chaos is the way that it is. But I do just want to remind you that, or at least offer the perspective that it can be extremely challenging. It can be extremely challenging to do a 180 reset when your baseline has been chaos, okay? But I do just want to give you a nugget of hope that even in the coldest and harshest environments where you think that all of the warmth has been sucked out of there, I promise you that it's something you cultivate internally. And when you flex that muscle and you really imagine a different world, even when some people think it's magical thinking or delusions, right? Like, because I've been told that too. I've been told, like, what is this magical thinking? You still have the same mind that creates worlds, right? And you can create that peace. And if you just look at the facets that make up your psyche, right, and your spirit, and know that you can approach it with kindness and compassion and inquiry, like cry, you can make major shifts. And it doesn't have to be this linear progression. It doesn't have to be 60 years from now. It's not some far off distant thing. It's something you cultivate right now. So when I became still, which did take some time, and that's why I'm so passionate about it, I really discovered that peace isn't empty, right? It's full of clarity, it's full of alignment, it's full of presence. And that is really where I can listen to my truth. That is where I can practice discernment. That is where I can pause without reacting. And that is the space between the stimulus and the response, which is huge. And that space, that is your vessel to really create. And Neville Goddard says, you are the operant power. If you persist in the chaos within, your world has no choice but to reflect it back to you. And no, it's not your fault that you came into this world and maybe it was a chaotic upbringing. But the moment that you do choose to persist in peace, that life must bow down to that assumption. And you can reorient that. And even in harmonics, like Robert Grant talks about how it's just dissonance, right? And the peace is that overtone that brings everything back into coherence. And so it's not silence. It's just how you tune to it, right? So it's just a different way of looking at it. And you don't have to chase it, right? You don't have to chase peace. It's already available to you. And Abraham Hicks would say that too. And your only work is to reach for the better feeling thought. Again, not in terms of magical thinking. It's not something that's earned, it's something that is tuned. And tuning to your frequency is a practice. It is a habit that can be taught, that can be distilled, and that can be put into practice. And so understanding the root cause and how it was stemmed, and knowing that it isn't random, right? And that it takes root early on, like, and understanding your story. Maybe you grew up in a home where peace felt unsafe, where the silence meant that something bad was about to happen, or you didn't really know what to do with that. So you had to like create stories and circumstances that leaned into that, or that it meant connection. Or rescuing, or trying to keep everyone else happy. But yeah, just taking a moment to realize in the grand scheme of things that you are not broken. You're not broken. It's just that your nervous system was trying to keep you safe in the only way that it knew how. And you can let go of that, just like your attachment to anything. First, how can you honor it, right? How do you take a moment to just honor that it was trying to keep you safe? It wasn't to punish us, it was to protect you. And when you can really come from that place of gratitude of like, okay, you know what, this is something that really kept me safe, and I don't need to hold on to it anymore. And tuning into the body, so noticing, where does the chaos live? Maybe taking a breath and just acknowledging, maybe it's in your chest, maybe it's a restlessness or a buzz in your mind, maybe it's a knot in your stomach, or like a tightness in your hips, or in like one of your limbs. I don't know, just really drop into that, closing your eyes and just taking a breath. And instead of pushing it away, right, instead of pushing and pushing and pushing and numbing, like where can you see where that took place, and just saying to it, thank you for protecting me, thank you for looking out for me, but I choose peace now. And once you understand that in the body, then you can go to the beliefs and say, like, where do you let chaos define you? What is the belief or the narrative? Like, do you need to be in constant motion? Do you need to be, hustling to make this better? You don't. Because they're not truths, right? They're just echoes from your ego. And the truth is that you are already peace. You are already home. And to just come home to that. And so how do we make our desire for peace stronger than the ego's pull toward chaos? Well, you first have to be aware of it, right? You have to see it, and you have to be aware of it cognitively and physically. Awareness is really the first doorway into freedom. And you have to catch the moment when chaos feels comfortable, quote unquote comfortable, and ask yourself, am I addicted to this? Because every flare of chaos, it's just a mirror showing you, this is where my nervous system feels that peace isn't safe. It's just a mirror. And when you see it, you've already begun to dissolve it. Okay, you've already begun that process of dissolving it. And I really want to validate something for you, that your addiction to chaos did not come from anywhere, from nowhere. Gabor Mate really talks about the root cause of addiction. And it's not the actual thing itself, right? It's the pain underneath, right? It's just a coping mechanism. The addiction is, what are you doing to soothe that pain, the response to that pain? And maybe your nervous system just learned that you were needed, right? Or the drama meant that this meant connection. And that if you fix things or manage things, that you were worthy of love. And so, of course, your body reaches for the chaos because it once kept you safe in that way. So instead of fighting that, instead of fighting it and like grasping it, I invite you to place your hand on your heart and just drop your shoulders back and whisper in a natural state, I am safe to rest here. I am safe to rest here. And by really opening up your body and feeling that exhale and allowing yourself the permission to just exhale, you really are remembering your wholeness. And there are just fragments of our being sometimes just kind of like swimming in the ether, but you can bring yourself back to wholeness by just remembering. And the Bhagavad Gita tells us that one who has a disciplined mind, one who moves in peace, attains the highest joy. And Arjuna was asked to act, but from a place of steadiness, that inner steadiness. And it's really not your job to erase the chaos outside of you, but to really refuse to let it rule within you, because you really do have that discernment. You really do have that operant power. And it's not passive, it's not resigning, it's really aligning with the highest nature of you in that moment, right? You are connecting to your highest self when you are in that peace, when you are in that presence and that stillness. And the Upanishads give us that imagery that chaos is like the rivers, noisy, rushing, restless, and peace is the ocean. It's vast, it's steady, it's unshaken. And the rivers are real, but they always dissolve into the ocean. And when you anchor into that true self, like true self with a capital S, the waves can no longer pull you under. I promise you they can't, but you just have to align with it. And so I would like to close us off in a collective prayer, collective universal prayer. Not a religious one, but one that binds everything that I was speaking about earlier with intentionality and and ripple it out to you. Dear Creator, universe, all that is, may we remember that peace is our divine birthright. It is our natural state of being. And may we tune into that frequency in daily practice, in daily form, in these physical bodies, in these physical vessels. May we tune to that from a place of love and not fear, from a place of harmony, not power, from a place of clarity and truth, and not chaos. May we revisit and rewrite the stories that chaos once served and protected, but are no longer welcome here. We part with grace and compassion and inquiry, and dissolve those fragmented parts of ourselves that may have lingered on for a little too long, or just as long as we needed, just to bring truth to that awareness, but allow it to dissolve and allow us to dissolve from that attachment, to no longer echo the cries of chaos, and to really step into the stillness, into the still waters of our soul. May anyone who's tuning into this really soften and allow that truth to soften their whole being, their essence. The train is going by in the midst of the chaos. To practice using discernment, to practice using their voice and their autonomy and their agency, and return to the baseline that is our divine birthright, which is peaceful presence. And may we harness that energy and let it ripple outward into our families, into our communities, and into the world. Because once we tune into ourselves and really understand the landscape of our inner being and our inner knowing, and tune to the frequency and the operant power that we wish to magnetize and become and fulfill, and remember that will be reflected in our outer world. And so it is, so it is, so it is. Sending you all so much grounding for the week. And yeah, I would love to hear from you in the comments if there's something that stood out or resonated. And make sure to hit subscribe if you feel called to, because we talk about all sorts of things here. We'd love to have you join the community. So much love, and see you next week. Bye.